Good day. My name is Saida Wallach, and I will be talking about my lesson in AP Computer Science Principles. First of all, I'd like to talk about the main resource that we use for this course, and that is our mobile CSP. As you can see, the syllabus and all the content is broken down by unit, and I'm just going to select Unit 3. Students have access to this anywhere once they have access to the internet, and it includes vocab as well as interactive questions that I have access to, videos, hands-on questions that allow them to do programming such as this one, multiple choice questions, as well as open-ended questions for their portfolio. So I wanted to review this resource since this is a critical component of this lesson. Another important component that I will mention in the lesson is App Inventor. App Inventor is where the students will actually create their applications. This is one of the simple programs that a student created. This is what their assessment would look like. So students can upload their own images, and if I go to blocks, this is their code. So this is as simple as they can get. Students were able to choose their level of complexity when it comes to their user interface and their code. And they had to choose a language to say a greeting. I am going to run this application so that you can see what the basic or level 1 app would look like.
Starway is hello in Latin. Starway is hello in Latin.
Okay, so this student chose to say hello in Latin. Each student had to select one language from Google Translate and could not share a language. So if one student went with Spanish, no one else could choose Spanish. So that made it very interesting. And I'm going to take you to the next critical component of the lesson, which is Google Translate. After the students chose their languages, they were instructed to go to Google Translate, and there are many languages on here. The class had about 16 students, so we had ample languages to choose from. Each student chose one language and had to create a greeting in English and translate into the other language, and the application would play that. Now, students had the option to choose multiple languages. However, like I said, the level 1 requirement was at least one language. I'd like to give another student's example of their project, which is their assessment.
This is how you say hello in Danish. Hedge.
This student chose Danish, and again, it is still a level 1 because one language was chosen, but students had flexibility to choose what background or user interface. They designed everything from scratch, as well as did the programming independently. The standards we used were from College Board AP Computer Science Principles, and students had to create a computational artifact, which ended up being their application. Students worked independently on these assignments, even though they could collaborate when doing problem solving. They were required to ask 3 students prior to asking the teacher for assistance. Students were extremely engaged during this activity because of the high level of real world application. Because I had 16 students in the classroom, we were able to learn how to say hello in 16 different languages. There were a few students that were able to take the project above and beyond and completed some of the challenges, while some students were able to remain in their comfort zones and create or import images and have unique. Some students were able to receive more points while on a level 1 by doing a little extra and participating in some of the challenges.
Privet, welcome to Pulight, home of the Pulight. Can I take your order? Privet, welcome to Pulight, home of the Pulight. Can I take your order?
This student received a few points for adding to the greeting, however, lost points because they did not identify the language that was being used initially. Also, I left feedback stating that the student could have used two buttons, one in English and one in another language. I do feel that I did not make that instruction clear enough because I noticed that many students had one button versus the two. What I expected to see was a button that said their greeting in English and a button that said their greeting in the language of their choice. So if I were to ever implement this lesson again, which I definitely will, I will be sure to make that instruction clearer. I feel that because multiple students did the same thing with creating one versus two buttons, it probably was not clear enough, or I needed to review that information more. As a result, I did not penalize students for having one button. This lesson could have been improved if I had allowed students to say their greeting prior to creating their applications. The applications came with a computerized voice. Students did have the option to change the voice. However, I feel that it could have been more interactive to have students practice their pronunciation with each other and then compare it to the app, and then that would have opened the door for more discussion. This concludes my review of my lesson plan assignment. Thank you.